Howdy folks, Bullseye Strength here. I thought I'd use this video to discuss why I believe 4 to 6 weekly working sets per muscle group is likely as good as it gets for most trainees based on some of the most popular tried and tested routines of the last several decades. Since you don't really hear about many of these routines anymore, I thought this video would be a good topic for newer trainees. And to juxtapose some of the insane volume recommendations currently being promoted by a handful of sports scientists. With one I saw recommending 52 sets per muscle group per week. In my opinion, the ability to recover from 52 sets a week, let alone grow, is indicative of inadequate intensity. Before we get onto the topic at hand, it's probably important to define what a working set actually is. High-intensity training advocates will say it's any set taken to failure, or in other words, failure in the ability to complete another concentric rep. Others claim it's when there is a substantial decrease in the speed of movement during the concentric phase, or the point at which technique breakdown typically occurs. In my opinion, a working set is any set that causes a reduction in output. This could be a drop-off in reps or weight, or a greater effort required in the completion of subsequent sets. For example, an individual could perform 3 sets of 10 repetitions with the same weight across all 3 sets. The first set was an RPE of 8, the second was an RPE of 9, and the third set was an RPE of 10. The closening proximity to failure with each subsequent set indicates the fatiguing of the target musculature necessary for stimulating growth. Some of the routines I'll outline in this video don't involve training to failure. Some do, but the common denominator is high intensity and modest volume. One last preface on intensity. There are 2 ways to determine intensity: percentage of max and proximity to failure. For example, lifting anything over 80% of your 1 rep max is going to stimulate growth in the higher threshold motor units that have the greatest capacity for growth, reducing the need to train close to failure. Whereas training with weight less than around 70% of your max is going to facilitate the need to push sets closer to failure. This is due to the way motor units are recruited from low threshold to high threshold, surplus to demand. This is known as the Henneman size principle. The take-home point is that in order for training to be effective, it must be difficult. For that reason, it makes more sense to adapt your volume to your intensity than adapting your intensity to a volume goal, as this just increases the likelihood of performing junk volume, which needlessly burns up your finite recuperative capacity with no additional muscle-building benefit. The first program I will talk about is starting strength. Although primarily a strength-building barbell program, a novice can expect to achieve a respectable physique transformation via a substantial increase in muscle mass, providing they consume enough calories and follow the program as written. In terms of weekly volume, starting strength employs 9 sets of squats, 4.5 sets of bench press/overhead press, and 1.5 sets of deadlifts per week. It's also advisable to replace the power cleans for weighted chin-ups or bent-over rows with the same volume to balance out the pressing work. You know what? This is one of only 2 days I get off a week, and editing this video is proving to be a fucking slog. So I'm just going to reel off a bunch of routines and their respective volumes because it's Sunday and I want to play some Oblivion. So here goes. Max OT 6 to 9 sets. Dog crap 2 to 3 sets. Wendler 5-3-1 boring but big template 6 sets. Texas method 6 sets. Mad cow 2 to 3 sets. Blood and guts 4 to 5 sets. Lean gains 2 to 3 sets. 20 rep squat routine 2 to 3 sets. Ian Barsegal 2-set method 8 sets. By the way, Ian Barsegal is a fairly young YouTuber, but his methodology is old school. He's built like a Greek statue and is as strong as an ox. I would absolutely rate him as one of the top YouTube fitness influencers today. Check out his video on his 2-set method. He's primarily a calisthenics guy, but his Soviet-influenced approach can be applied to any style of training. Anyway, my main aim for this video was to push back on the growing scourge of ridiculous volume recommendations from sports scientists. Also, I need to get my depression-induced sugar binging habit under control given that I recently and unintentionally pushed my weight up to 220 pounds, just so that I can carve out a semi-respectable body composition for myself for the fast-approaching summer months. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you chaps, as always. I hope this video can serve as a research tool and help bring some rationality to the volume debate. And as always, questions and abuse in the comments section. Ciao for now.